Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and with my colleagues. I bring you greetings with the Islamic words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. What a difference a womanist moment makes. Soon after she shifted in her seat, directing her wide smile and pragmatic challenge over her right shoulder and in my direction, I personally discovered just how transformative directives from Dr. Katie Geneva Cannon could be. May Allah forgive her sins and grant her rest and paradise. The year was 1999. The setting was a Womanist Approaches panel at that year's AAR. I was a not yet minted Ph.D., who the year before transitioned from Islam from Christianity. My first two dissertation directors, Dr. Rosemary Skinner Keller, may Allah forgive her sins and grant her rest in paradise, and Dr. Tawnette Eugene, exhausted significant energy trying to convince me that a woman-centered approach to my study of African American Muslims in the early 20th century would not be a marginalizing cause. However, being groomed to be a church historian with traditional methods that elided the experiences of African American women into those of men or rendered us invisible altogether, I was not yet convinced that centering my analysis on the embodied experience of women could lead to work valued as legitimate scholarship or could situate Black women as viable sources and resources for theological study. Enter Dr. Katie, or better yet, her charge. When asked when will womanist panels proceed beyond Christian life to the experiences of Muslim women, Dr. Katie asked me, well, soon to be Dr. Debra, when? If this were an in-person presented panel, I have no doubt that right now several members of the audience would be nodding agreement, crafting smiles and or shedding tears while reflecting on their own Dr. Katie change maker moment of truth. That is, the Katie Cannon approach to womanism that I experienced placed as a prerequisite not only the human dignity of Black women, but also the readiness to challenge those of us who study Black women to step down into our own questions and reconsider our own assumptions about our abilities, about our capacities, and from an Islamic perspective, our journey along the al-mustaqim, or the straight path. On that chilly November morning, Dr. Katie knew I possessed both questions and assumptions. She knew that the inter and intra-faith journey of the only confessed Muslim in that session could help structure a panel focused on the lived realities of African American Muslim women with a level of insight and sensitivity that few other womanist colleagues could do. She knew that the deep wells of womanism were forever subject to intellectual curiosity, to choices made by those who live at the intersection of gender, race, and religion, but must first reckon with the work that their own souls must do in the what ought to be, but is not yet. That the telling of stories of African American Muslim women and the spirituality of other Black women beyond Christianity would help to ultimately uproot the normativity of womanist thought at the time is not the savory takeaway of this November moment. What is how Dr. Katie's way of compelling the questioner to dare to craft her own response helped foster a career that spanned more than 20 years, recovering terms like Islam and gender justice from the garbage heap of the paradoxical. How that exchange demanded the reconsideration of Muslim womanism as an interpretive framework that centers the voices and agencies of African American Muslim women and affirms the merits of experience as textual exegesis, whether the text is the divine word as revelation or the divine word as embodied female reality. How that one moment in time inspired an alternative Quranic hermeneutic, one that depicts Muslim women as autonomous agents who surrender to their faith need not be viewed as synonymous with the submission to a patriarchal mentality that renders men as arbiters for the social and personal possibilities of women. How that simple, brief, but also important moment ushered in a reality that regardless of marker of difference or sameness, the performance of gendered power in text further evidence that the utility of the womanist legacy for non-Christian women attempting to name themselves as the 21st century reality. It is unapologetically validated. It is a beingness of Black women. It is a difference a womanist moment can make. And it is the reality that a Christian can make a Muslim a better Muslim, and a Muslim can make a Christian a better Christian. And in this instance, Dr. Katie helped me become the person that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended me to be. Thank you.